And welcome everyone to Beyond the Forecast. I am Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens, and happy Wednesday, everybody. Today we're going to take you into a few things that will help you enjoy the outdoors. So today, meteorologist John Gross is going to talk to you about land temperatures versus water temperatures and everything in between. So he's going to have that discussion with you today, and then meteorologist Haley Fischetti will break down the most ideal kayak forecast for you. As we get into summer, you might want to grab the kayak and head out in the waters. Well, she's going to have the best conditions for that for you. And then we're also going to jump back into our Beyond the Forecast live streaming podcast segment for the end of the show that Haley and I shot yesterday. So we'll have that coming up for you throughout today's show. But before we get to all of that, let's get into some fun facts off the top of the show. This day in weather history, June 25th, 1953, Anchorage, Alaska soared to 86 degrees, setting an all-time warmest record for them until 2019 when they hit 90 degrees. But yeah, 86 was the warmest temperature that Anchorage, Alaska ever saw from 1953 to 2019. And then 2019, they demolished that record, hitting 90 degrees. So that's a little fun fact for you for this day in weather history. And now trivia time. Yesterday, we wanted to know true or false, heat lightning is real. Believe it or not, that's false. Heat lightning is not real. I know my parents told me and my grandparents told me, and I'm sure a lot of people have said over the generations, heat lightning. When it gets warm, you see lightning off in the distance, it's heat lightning. No, that's just lightning off in the distance. So heat lightning is not a thing. Today, we want to know how many categories are there to classify hurricanes? Is it 4, 10, 5, or 7? QR code right there. Scan that with your phone. It'll take you to where you can answer. But is it 4, 10, 5, or 7? And we'll have that answer for you tomorrow on Beyond the Forecast. All right, new segment that we have added here called Weather Word of the Day. Yesterday we told you about lightning hitting sand and creating glass, fulgurites. Well, today we're telling you about hydrosphere. That is a word, hydrosphere. So when you break it down, hydro, water, sphere is meant because Earth is kind of like a sphere. So essentially, hydrosphere is composed of all the water on and in Earth, all surface water and water vapor, so that includes clouds and atmosphere. So hydrosphere means all of the water in the world. There you go. That's your weather word of the day. Viewer photo of the day, brought to you, as always, by Great Rooms. Today's photo comes to us from Judy Reeves. Judy has sent us this absolutely stunning picture of a hummingbird chilling on the feeder, and is quite simply titled Beautiful Hummingbird. Thank you, Judy, so much for sending that in, and thank you to Great Rooms, as always, for sponsoring Viewer Photo of the Day. All right, let's get into our show. We're going to send it over to meteorologist John Gross, who's going to take you into air temperature and water temperature, the difference between the two, and also how they complement each other when you get closer to a lake. We'll have that coming up right after the break.
Hey there, everybody. Meteorologist John Gross. Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. Today, we're going to focus in a little bit more on your temperatures. Now, you know what the temperature is most likely, but what is the difference between temperatures that we usually do see over a landmass versus what we might see over the open water? And what more of a better place to talk about it than right here in the Great Lakes, where you're talking about Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Superior, just for us here in northern Michigan, and those temperatures in the water versus what we would see occurring here at the surface or just in the air in general can be a big difference, especially at certain times of the year when you're getting into late spring, and then where we are when this video was recorded, getting into the first few days of summer. And like we experienced just this past weekend with temperatures well into the 90s, if not even feeling closer to 100 plus in some spots when you factored in the humidity. So we're just taking a look at when this was recorded, temperatures out there right now. And it's just going to serve the purpose of the entire reason why we're talking about the differences in these numbers. So take a look at it. Wide range of your temperatures across northern Michigan right now has a lot of us anywhere from the upper 60s, even getting into the 80s into some of our southern communities. And if you were watching the video from when we were talking about the differences in temperatures just across northern Michigan, here's another prime example. 67 right now in the Sioux, 85 right now in Mount Pleasant. So that's almost a 20-degree spread. But when you're talking about temperatures over the open water compared to what we see over a landmass, it can vary quite a bit. Temperatures out there right now near just the immediate lakeshore, a lot of those numbers in the 50s. Even check out numbers going a little bit further north near Marquette in the 40s. And that's right near the immediate lakeshore. Once you go farther out into the open water, temperatures, well, they just get a little bit colder. So why is that? Well, land warms up a lot quicker during the daytime than a body of water does. So when you're talking about that difference, we can go into what we call a lake breeze. And we see those time and time again. If you've ever gone to the beach and maybe you left the house and you live a little bit farther inland, it was a little bit warmer, you get to the water, you get to the beach, and then those temperatures when you get out of the car, it's a little bit colder. So we do have to prepare for that sometimes, and here's the science and the reason why. So our landmass, we can just pretend that this is northern lower or eastern upper, certain part of northern Michigan. Once we get the sun up, once we start to mix up the atmosphere, once we start to warm up, we call that the peak heating hours of the afternoon, high noon. That's showing that our landmass is absorbing more of that heat, and it's warming up a lot quicker versus temperatures that we see over the open water. So now we've got the temperature over the water colder than the temperature that we have over our landmass. And remember, warmer air, it's more buoyant, it wants to rise. Colder air, it's more dense, and it wants to sink. So that's the setup that we have. If we have that warmer air over our landmass, in this case, northern Michigan, getting a lot warmer during the peak heating hours of the afternoon, that air, well, it wants to go nowhere but up, and it has to be replaced from somewhere. And that's where our air from over the relatively colder waters starts to move in, and that's what we call a typical lake breeze. Now, another thing we want to go ahead and point out with this is just temperatures in the water. Like we were showing you right there near the immediate lake shore in the last map, in the 50s right now when this video was recorded, and we're in late June. So it just goes to show you that even though the temperatures outside can be very, very hot, 80s, 90s, when you factor in the humidity, feeling like the triple digits, temperatures in the water can still be, in this case, almost 50 degrees colder. And that can be a serious shock to your body. It can, even in some instances, lead to hypothermia. So you have to be very, very careful in making sure when you are venturing in the water, you do know what water temperatures are, what temperatures are going to be over land as we're going throughout the afternoon. Are we expecting a lake breeze to set up? Things of that nature, as we are getting now into these summer months. So always make sure you're taking care of yourself, staying hydrated in those situations, but checking in with the beach hazard forecast, checking in with the surf zone forecast, any marine forecasts when we're talking about higher waves, potential for rip currents, as we are now starting to get into these warmer months, but always enjoy summertime in northern Michigan. I'm meteorologist John Gross reporting for Beyond the Forecast.
Thanks, John. Now, coming up next, we're going to send it over to meteorologist Haley Fischetti, who is going to take us into the ideal kayak forecast. We'll have that coming up right after the break.
Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. It's meteorologist Haley Fischetti, and today I'm going to talk to you about the perfect kayaking weather. We've been seeing some really, really warm temperatures the past couple of weeks. A lot of us getting into the water as much as we can to try to refresh and cool off, and it's really the perfect season for it. So we're going to talk about some tips and tricks and some things that you should know to have the perfect kayaking day weather-wise, because you'd be surprised of how much of an impact weather really controls your kayaking day. Now, first thing is the winds. You really want to pay attention to the winds. Like on any boat, if it's a really gusty day, it's not going to be the best conditions for kayaking or really anything water related. You want little to no winds when you're planning to go on a lake or on streams or rivers. That's going to be your best bet. Mainly because it's just less energy for your body to be working against the winds or the waves. You want to be going with the calmer conditions out there, meaning the water is also calm. When it comes to gusty days, it's going to make it pretty hard to actually paddle. Paddling on softer or quieter waves makes it pretty easy to travel here and there. When it comes to gusty winds, especially when you're controlling the waves, it makes it harder to move, and that's going to exert more energy of course, making you hotter depending on the temperatures. When you are kayaking, especially if you're a beginner or a novice maybe, you want to go with the winds. One that's going to just take off the pressure for you, but also make just an easier travel day. A lot of us, if you're seeing southerly winds, you want to find streams that are also moving south, or same with the northerly winds, as that will help your energy, especially towards the end of a trip when maybe you're tired after a long day of kayaking. It's best to have that ready to go and knowing what direction the winds are going, so you're also going with it instead of fighting against it. Now, when it comes to temperatures, that's also pretty important. You want to make sure your water temperatures are in the mid 60s, preferably 70s. That's going to make it very comfortable out there. With these warm temperatures that we've been seeing, some of those lakes are slowly starting to warm up a little bit more, making it pretty comfortable out there. Of course, you're comfortable really matters when it comes to kayaking. You want to make sure you're feeling energized and ready to go when you're kayaking, and temperatures play a pretty big factor in that. Watching the waves as well. When it comes to the water temperatures, you're also going to be noticing some waves as well, maybe getting wet. If it's too cold, it might ruin your trip, but also be dangerous to you depending on how cold some of that water really is. The waves, of course, also when it comes to the winds, if it's pretty big waves, could be very dangerous. Of course, making sure you're wearing your life vest as well, as your dressing is also very important. Making sure you're staying safe, wearing the life vest, making sure your paddles are ready to go, and dressing in layers if you need to. One, if it's cold outside, maybe it's a morning ride, you might be noticing it's a little chilly out there and you can shed some layers throughout the day. But two, to protect yourself from the sun. I know a couple weeks ago we've been seeing some of those warmer temperatures and bright sunny skies, especially these past couple of days, and that's been causing some higher UV indexes, meaning that it's been really, really sunny out there and more easy for us to burn. And you want to make sure you're dressing in layers, wearing a t-shirt to protect yourself from the sun, wearing sunscreen as well. But just in case it gets cooler out there or you need protection, dressing in layers is going to be the best bet. But these are just some tips, some little advice that you could have to have a perfect kayaking day when it comes to the weather. We'll have more details and a full look on Beyond the Forecast.
Thanks, Haley. Now, coming up next, meteorologist Haley Fischetti and I will sit down and give you a segment from our live streaming Beyond the Forecast podcast. Well, that right after the break. And welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Forecast. Yesterday, meteorologist Haley Fischetti and I sat down and had our live streaming Beyond the Forecast podcast. And we talked about summer, what we've seen so far, what's in store for the rest of summer, but also the heat we've been seeing, and also some of the severe weather that we've been seeing. So let's send you into a segment from that. And also, if you want to see more of it, you can always head to the 910 News YouTube channel where all our podcasts live, as well as the Beyond the Forecast Facebook page. And then we are working hard to get them all up on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But here's a segment from yesterday's podcast.
When you guys say the moisture won't make it to the ground, even though it shows on the radar, can you explain that? I love to walk, but a big no running. Yeah, Michelle, so when we're talking about virga or rain, like you can see the streaks of rain, but they're not reaching the ground. It's because there's, so from here, where you're at in the ground, to where the clouds are, there's usually dry air.
Yeah.
So if there's a big support of dry air, the rain will fall, but it dissipates because of that drier air.
It kind of gets like choked out, but the dry air like kind of kills the moisture.
Yes.
It's so dry at the surface. It's kind of like the same when you're seeing like the snow melt before it hits the ground because it's a little bit warmer outside. It's when we have dry air instead of moist air at the ground. It can't survive.
So the best way to imagine this is like imagine a multi-layered pie or like something that has many layers. Like that is just us to the clouds. Like it depends on 20, 30, 40, 50,000 feet. Every layer is a little bit different. So at the surface, you go up 100 feet even, it's going to be a little bit different. So when you look at freezing rain, you have, you know, the cool air at the surface, and then there's a sliver of warm air, and then there's cold air above it. So you have the snow, gets into that warm layer, melts it back to moisture, rain, precipitation, and then once it gets to the surface, it's again cold, it starts freezing rain. So in the summer, you tend to get, you know, well, it might be warm and muggy at the surface.
Right.
In the middle, there's just drier air,
Yeah.
which is, you know, a choke-off point for moisture. Above that is another moist level. So you have the clouds raining.
Wanting to rain.
It's raining, but then you can see the streaks just kind of end.
Yeah.
And that's where that dry layer is. And then once it gets where it should be to us for some rain, it's just not supportive. You might
Just
get a
muggy.
drop or two.
Yeah.
It's just moisture at the surface.
Yeah.
So that's how that works when we say it's not reaching the ground.
And you can see that on radar. The
Light
reason why you might
returns.
see it, it's because when the radar is going around, it's picking up things in the atmosphere. It's picking up things at the layer. And sometimes they might be able to actually see the rain in the atmosphere,
Right.
but then they're picking up, being like, okay, we can see it, but it's never reaching the ground. Sometimes, depending
Yep.
on where you are too, it's actually birds.
Yep.
It's bugs.
Actually, I just saw a post the other day, which I had no idea this was possible, and I did some research on it. They can pick up, with temperature inversion, they pick up traffic. So when
Really?
you see like intense reds and stuff on a roadway, it's usually temperature inversion, which is bending the radar, and you're picking up traffic. So I'll show you the post. I saved it on my
Really?
phone, actually. I'll see if I can put this into so you guys can see it during the run back of this podcast.
That's interesting.
I saved it somewhere right here. So temperature inversion, we've explained on
Whoa.
Beyond the Forecast. Temperature inversions can play mind games with you both over the lakes visually, or can really impact your weather.
Interesting.
So I explained it when we were on Mackinac Island. We did a Mackinac Island episode of Beyond the Forecast. There's this thing called Fata Morgana, which is the ability to see mirages over a long period.
Yes.
When the temperature inversion's happening, it bends light. So if you've ever seen or heard of the ghost ship, what is it called? Oh, shoot. SpongeBob reference.
Oh, I don't know. But I know what you're talking about.
But anyway, I always do this. I always forget the name of it. But anyway, you can see like Chicago from 50 miles away, or you can see Milwaukee across Lake Michigan.
Yes.
It's not because the Earth is flat. It's because of temperature inversion.
Yes.
So the temperature inversion, it's cooler or warmer aloft, and it's bending light, and it will actually reflect
What
the image of Milwaukee or Chicago.
Right.
It happens to Toronto from Buffalo, or it'll make a freighter look like it is floating. That is Fata Morgana. So the temperature inversion makes the rays of light bounce, and then actually pulls the thing up, and it looks like an extended ghost ship, or it's a
Right.
mirage.
Right.
And it looks mirrored. Actually, I took a photo of it from Mackinac Bridge.
Oh,
We were
really?
coming back from Mackinac Island, and Fata Morgana was making the bridge look like there was two bridges. So on
Really?
the opposite side, there was another bridge. And my sister's like, "What is that? There's another bridge?" I was like, "No, that's actually Mirage."
Yeah, that's
So the
cool.
temperature inversion, because it was very warm
When you were
air-wise,
getting back, yeah.
but over the water it was very cold.
Cold, yeah.
It was actually mocking the bridge. So that is called Fata Morgana, but that's temperature inversion, and that's how you can see things very far away over open area. If you're driving on a hot road and you see the air rising because of
Yeah.
the heat, but that's the difference between the levels of the surface and up towards the clouds.
Yeah.
Also, hence why you see contrails sometimes, not chemtrails, contrails and non-contrails, the temperature version. Because when it can condensate, you get contrails. When it can't, when the atmosphere is warmer, so that's how all this works, right? If there's moisture coming from something, like an exhaust, and your temperature will condensate, you get contrails. When it's either extremely windy or the temperature is different, you don't get contrails.
Right.
Which we'll save this for the next episode.
gonna say,
but
this is, like,
conspiracy
deep
theories,
diving
deep dive on
into
Twitter
something.
is so annoying. I just want to be like, no, the whole radar sites that are changing our weather
I
or
actually
weather
just
control,
saw,
and they see.
Did you see the Facebook post this morning on broadcasters?
I can't. I don't.
Someone posted saying does anyone think that the conspiracy theories have gotten heightened in the past
Oh, yeah, they
3
have.
weeks? And I was like, oh.
I don't know what it is. Something in the water or the moon. But
moon, 'cause the moon
somebody posted a picture of the United States, and all the radar sites were showing ground clutter.
So there you go. A little bit about summer, what we've seen, and what's in store. So far, it's actually been a pretty decent summer. A little bit of heat, a little bit of cool. But so far, moisture being right where it is, the plants are absolutely loving it. So, for meteorologist John Gross, meteorologist Haley Fischetti, I'm Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be right back here tomorrow at 4:30 for more Beyond the Forecast. Be good, stay safe, take care. Bye, everybody.